Day, and TSM took their first win. They debuted, took the win, and let's talk about that a little bit. Sure, it was a bit of a hectic game, both sides, but the new members of TSM, I mean, they showed why people were excited and saying that potentially this could end up being a dream team.
I liked the early game, mostly because Svenskeren, I liked the gank that they did. Both the timing and the location was pretty ideal. You really don't want to leave that Renekton Fiora lane untouched, or more, even worse, ganked by TBQ. Snowball that. Hauntzer did well, dashed in, played around the repost very well, baited it out, and then they killed Flame right there. So that gave them a bit of a lead. CS stayed even though in the early game. Definitely really close game up until that point in the mid game where they jumped on Bjergsen, his egg waited long enough, and that gave TSM 2 towers immediately, and that kind of spiraled the game open.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I do want to give the credit where it's due. I mean, Hauntzer seemed to play well when he needed to. Renekton, of course, not going to be that viable in the late game, but when it mattered early and mid, he made things happen. You know, the rest of the team and their communication seems to be pretty decent. But, you know, of course, the commentators are mentioning it too. It wasn't exactly the cleanest game. It wasn't like, TSM, all right, Dream Team is here, it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was pretty evident that TSM is a team that's played together for about a week. Like, there's a lot of factors to kind of iron in here. So first of all, like, right now they lack a big picture shot caller. Yes, okay, Bjergsen was that with the old TSM, but he's never played like a Jinx, like a protect the AD carry Jinx center like Tom Kench and Nivea. So like they never did that with Turtle. So like he's not used to all these sort of inputs to all this, and just the rest of the team, like, yeah, you know, they're all chiming in saying, oh, we can go here, this is a move we can make, oh, we can see just turret, and then they gotta get down to it, and everyone's still just like offering in their input to the game, and no one's saying, guys, this comp doesn't work, like, let's all recall, let's go reset, and so no one's giving that call. So that is definitely a big issue. And then, of course, likewise, LGD, I mean, you're seeing tons of coordination issues, even though you're seeing some of those players step up finally.
I mean, not to take away from TSM in this, I thought that Hauntzer and Sven completely outclassed Flame and TBQ, but I think a lot of this game was, it's more LGD messing up than TSM playing well.
Fair enough, and you know, sometimes that's what it is in a game of League of Legends.
I feel like LGD's composition could only thrive if TSM allows them to. And we see that in a lot of these cases where, for me, macro-wise, TSM did steps 1, 2, and 3 right, but then they monumentally screwed up step 4 in different locations where they go in, like LG tries to engage, Kasing is in perfect position to get the Devour off. And
the bot and hit was like the perfect
when we disengage, but then we need a complete disengage. If you keep that fight going, you don't have those necessary cooldowns to really position that fight, then LGD will go, like, just go over you and then just kill you all the time. So you gotta avoid the flanks.
Right.
Monty was pointing that out. You gotta ward, get the vision control, allow yourself to complete disengage, go back, kill half the inhibitor, return later. TSM just got greedy at a couple moments and didn't ward properly, and they got punished very hard for this. But in my opinion, this game could have been over at 35 minutes.
Definitely.
Just due to the nature of the composition. Walk in, siege, back off, get the next tower. Just disincentivize LGD from engaging.
Yeah, they were up 6-2 at one point. The kills were like, what, 4-1 or something pretty crazy. Like, yeah, all the elements were there, especially like after the Baron backstab. Like, there were so many opportunities where like, wow, TSM are decidedly ahead right now.
Yes.
And any team that's like a good practice shot culling team, like you bring over SKT or Ku Tiger or someone like, those teams are going to close that game out 100% of the time. TSM got lucky. Right, like that's what you guys are talking about.
Yeah,
it's like LGD would like screw the game back up after TSM. Like
they got many more second chances than they perhaps deserved. But at the very least, one of those times they finally made it work. Made it work out. But yeah, I know we were watching and we're like, all right, yeah, that's probably over. TSM, we're gonna hear the TSM chance, and we're like, actually, let's sit back down. Bjergsen just got it. Like, okay, it's probably gonna be. Oh, Doublelift just got picked off.
I thought after him jumped in on the egg and the mid thing, I thought the game was over after that.
Yeah.
It's just like, how are they gonna wave clear against this team comp? And they did. They just ran straight down mid and took 2 turrets, but there was just multiple failures by TSM, and it just kind of just let LGD get back in every time.
Yeah, they did rush things, and I think that's what you were saying, Freak, early on, is that it shows that they have only been together for a week. They only had half a week of boot camp, and even then, Saint, you were pointing out, well, how much of a boot camp could you really have had when you had to play on the tournament realm and, you know, potentially maybe only scrimming against CLG? The odds were against them, but on the other side, before we jump, start getting into game 2, real quick, just brief thoughts on LGD then, like, was it just them underestimating, or is it just hard to tell? Did they maybe trust a little bit too much in their individual skills, like Flame, playing Fiora?
So I think Goldby got a lot better. He's now Plat Evil, so like he's gone up a full division at this point. No, I mean, that guy did awesome, right? Like his cast was very good. It came out. Krepa, you wanted to mention in a champs, like whatever. Like there were definitely elements here of players playing incredibly well. And like the skill level that you're supposed to see in these guys did show up in a lot of these cases. But yeah, they picked themselves into a corner. I think no one liked their champ select as an overall package, even if some of the matchups were good. And so I always like to think that teams can fix champ select into game 2 and that you'll see like a much better comp from next time. And it might look much better for LGD next time.
Yeah, the big point is the composition that LGD was running. It requires people to flank. If TSM can hold the entire LGD lineup in front of them, they're not gonna LGD's not gonna win a fight. If they can flank or get these home guard speed rounds, that's actually all those fights were initiated by either somebody getting into the backline or TSM not playing with their cooldowns like the Devour. I think if Tom Kench gets removed off the board and LGD plays a similar composition where they can jump in and just aggressively dive on doublelift, then the game would look entirely different.
Well, even though LGD's team comp wasn't perfect, it looked like they knew how to play it really well.
Yeah.
They would soft engage with Kassadin, they'd drop the E, they'd slow everybody, and then he would just sit there in Hourglass. And then when everybody's like, oh my god, we're slowed, and they'd be focusing on the Kassadin coming out of the Hourglass, Alistar would just come in and set it up.
Just TBQ overreaches a couple of times. Like he wasn't buying into the two-phase engage, he was just going in super hard at the start. He's like, guys, I got double. Oh, Devour. Again.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll see. You know, potentially probably going to see that Tom Kench ban. They're not going to want to deal with it. Or, I mean, you know, if they're flipping sides, they
first pick it up.
Yeah, they might just take it. Yeah, they should be flipping sides. So they might just take it for themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, we ran into game 1 a little bit. But again, you know, this is only one game, especially for this new lineup for TSM. When we come back after a brief break, we will jump right into game number 2 between TSM and LGD.